Hey guys, welcome back to PristineZReads, and today Mickey and I are going to be reviewing Flashback by Shannon Messenger, book number 7 in the Keeper of the Lost City series. So it's just the two of us, Mickey and I, and yeah, let's get started because I also have a lot to say. So let's start it with the summary. So Flashback starts with Alvar's tribunal. The council decides that they can't sentence him due to memory loss and says that they'll place him in a 6-month probation in Everglen under careful observation and guarded by a gadget Dex has made called the Warden, which can shock Alvar into unconsciousness if he does something suspicious. While in the tribunal, Fallon Vacker, who is one of the oldest elves alive and was on the founding council, shows up and says that it's not a good idea to have Alvar in Everglen because of the possibility of something secret hidden there. Luzia Vacker, a super famous flasher and the founder of Everglen, retorts at Fallon, saying that she only chose Everglen because of the view. However, Sophie, Fitz, and Keith decide that she is not telling the entire truth and that they need to find out what's hidden in Everglen. Fitz and Bianna are not happy that their parents are making them live with the murderer, and Fitz, who has some serious anger issues, by the way, says to Alden that if Alvar is moving in, he is moving out. Bianna is not as angry as Fitz is, but she's not happy with the decision either. So Fitz storms off to go train with Grizzle, and then Sophie decides to go after him and talk some sense into him. Keith says that he is not getting anywhere near Fitz and a bunch of weapons, so Sophie is left alone. When she arrives to see Fitz, he's busy hurling goblin throwing stars at a dummy, and when she talks with him, the Neverseen show up. Gethin, Roy, and Umber, who's the Neverseen's shade, demand to know where Wiley is, but Sophie won't tell them. Roy captures them in force fields, and Umber starts to torture Fitz and Sophie with Shadow Flux, which is basically pure elemental darkness. Sander and Grizzle got taken out when Sophie inflicted on them by accident. Anyways, the Shadow Flux, when directed by Umber, triggers unfathomable pain and breaks Sophie's knuckles, strikes her arm and head, and fractures Fitz's leg and sinks into his heart. After Grizzle and Sander also get hit, although not very badly, Sophie presses her panic switch, which is a ring Dex made for all of them and has a tracking signal so you can find them. And this time, Dex, Wiley, and Louise show up. After Wiley and Umber have an epic showdown, combining Shadow Flux and a bunch of light Wiley sends at them, it seems to have injured Roy's ability somehow, as he can't create any more force fields. The Neverseen quickly leap away, leaving them, but not before they reveal that the caches Keith stole were fakes. Dex and Wiley quickly take Sophie, Fitz, Sandor, and Grizzle to the healing center. Tam rushes over when Elvin hails him and removes the Shadow Flux from Sophie and Fitz. Elvin sedates Fitz, but Sophie refuses to let him sedate her. When Sandor shows up, he tells Sophie that he's not worthy of protecting her and says that he's going to ask Queen Hilda to reassign him. But Sophie firmly says that she won't accept another bodyguard and threatens Sandor with an unimaginable amount of pranking for the new guard with help from Keith, Dex, and Tam. Sandor decides that he will stay, but he will bring in a new guard from a different species to bring him a new look on Sophie's security. She reluctantly agrees, and then Elwin has to give her some sleeping medicine so he can work on her hand. Sophie and Fitz spend a long time in the healing center. Their days are filled with disgusting treatments and medicines from Elwin and Livy, and Tam and his shade mentor, Lady Zilla, come by to check on their echoes. The echoes are basically lasting effects from where the Shadow Flux sank into them, and since Sophie's echo is in her head, when she dreams and has nightmares, the echoes take over and her mind is subject to her worst fears. For Fitz, when he lets himself get angry or emotional, then his echo, which is in his heart, makes it difficult for him to breathe, and his chest constricts. They also train in exilium skills, such as body temperature regulation, appetite suppression, and night vision with Keith, who give them extra tips he picked up from his training time with the Neverseen. Keith also asked Sophie and Fitz to try to uncover more memories his mom might have erased from his mind, and they do find a memory in which Lady Gisela gets Keith to deliver an envelope to a man in London. But the memory fades right as Keith steps into the light to carry him to this mysterious place. Again, after several long weeks, and I basically just summed up few hundred something pages in those 2 sentences, Elvin pronounces Fitz okay to go home, and Sophie the day after. So Fitz goes with Bianna back to Everglen before Alvar moves there, and they negotiate with their parents to spend 10 days with Alvar in exchange for the opportunities to search Alden's office and Alvar's mind. When Sophie leaves, Mr. Forkel first takes her to the Black Swan's Technopath's workplace. Tinker, the Technopath's code name, has made a few gadgets for Sophie that will help her. She made Sophie a null that will block any technological means to Neverseen have to track her, and a silver booster in the shape of a bracelet that will give her left arm more strength since her right arm is still healing, and some gadgets in the shape of fingernails that allow her to control her enhancing with a few taps. She then returns to Havenfield and 4 new bodyguards, Botros, or Bo, who is an ogre, and we learn later, married to Ro, which he has so much fun with, by the way. But Bo is like super mean, and new Bitty, a dwarf who will stay underground because she's sensitive to light, Flory, a gnome, who also happens to be Cala's great-great-grandniece, and Tarina, who's a troll, and asks Sophie for an alliance between Empress Pernille and Sophie, who says that she'll think about it, obviously because the ramifications could be huge, and she needs to consult the collective. When Sophie and Fitz try to search Alvar's mind, they find nothing. Even when they try probing, Alvar's mind is just blank of any memories. So after Fritz's echo kicks in, they decide to search Everglen instead, thinking that he needs a break after Alvar. While in the Backers' reception hall, Sophie asks Fitz what it's for, and he says it's for winnowing galas. Backstory: winnowing galas are a big parties that elves hold when they're trying to narrow down their match list. Let's enter into the cringy part now. That triggers an entirely awkward conversation about matchmaking, and then somehow Fitz tells Sophie he likes her, as in like. That gives Sophie the courage to tell Fitz that she's had a crush on him since the day they met. They almost, and the keyword is almost there, yes, but right then, Sylvanie blasts a transmission into Sophie's head, telling her that she's in labor, and Sophie has to leave poor Fitz hanging there and go help Sylvanie. She grabs Edeline and Vika and Sina Hex, as the Hex have been taking care of unicorns for generations, and would probably be the best to help Sylvanie. When they get there, Vika and Edeline say that Sylvanie has twins, and their body's trying to give birth because she can't carry both babies the full term, this being several weeks before the supposed due date. Sophie's frantic, but at the last moment, Tarina says the trolls have a way to save the alicorn babies, but she can only help if Sophie agrees to their alliance. Sophie agrees quickly, and then Tarina tells her that the trolls hatch their young in hives, or buildings with their newborns developing in pods of gel, with all the nutrients they need to grow properly. Tarina says that they can custom make a hive for the alicorn babies with pods, and that will help them grow to their full maturity until they can survive on their own. It turns out that the trolls have another alliance with Luzia Backer, and Sophie, Fitz, and Tarina enlist Luzia's help in building a secret hive for the alicorns and gathering transport pods. They hurry back, and Vika, Edeline, and Stina help them get the babies into the pods. After implanting them in the hive, they're safe. But the day is not over yet. Sophie and Fitz have to visit Fintan after he demanded a meeting. Mr. Forkel picks him up, and they travel to the prison where he's being held. After some tricky, dangerous negotiating, Fintan finally tells them a bit about Vespera's plans. All he knew was that she was fixated on Luzia and Orem Backer. Orem is Luzia's son, and the one who always puts on different slasher shows during Elvin holidays. Vespera had called Luzia a fake, since Luzia took credit for the illusions that Vespera designed to keep the lost cities hidden. Vespera had also started counting down to the Celestial Festival, an Elven tradition that's timed around a lunar eclipse and is accompanied by much celebration and shows. Orem usually puts on a flasher show as well, and Fintan says that Vespera was furious when she found out. Ever since then, she's been planning something big. He advises that they cancel the festival, or they could take their chance to finally get ahead. When Sophie, Fitz, and Mr. Forkel return, everybody shows up, and after much heated debate, they decide not to cancel the festival. When the day comes, they're prepared with numerous illusions, hiding the counselors, Orem, and everything that will potentially be a target. Sophie, Fitz, Keith, Dex, Bianna, Tam, Lynn, Wiley, Morella, Stander, Grizzle, Walter, Levies, Rowe, and Mr. Forkle all meet to covertly scan the festival. They divide into 2 groups, and for a while everything's fine. But then Fitz transmits to Sophie that Alvar's moving. And by that, he means that he's tracking him with the warden, which he wants to knock Alvar unconscious because, until the festival is over, so he can't do anything. Sophie pleads with him to wait because all Alvar's doing is walking around. So she tells him to wait until they can meet up, so she can be there to support him. When they meet up, Fitz is convinced that he should zap Alvar. So Sophie finally agrees, and Fitz presses the button, but it doesn't work. Frustrated, Fitz hurls the warden away, and much to Dex's consternation, who said he could have fixed it. Fitz then begs Sophie to teleport to Everglen so they can keep an eye on him. She agrees and grabs their whole group, barely having enough time to transmit to Mr. Forkle that they're going to Everglen. When they arrive, everything's deathly quiet until Fitz finds Alvar and beats him up. The Neverseen show up, including a few ogres, and try to get Fitz to murder Alvar, but Sophie convinces him not to. But then the Neverseen disappear, revealing that their images were just illusions. So they head into the woods, where Alvar activates the override, which is a way to get into Everglen without going through the gate, with Fitz's blood, as it needs the Packer's DNA to unlock. I forgot to say also, Alvar got all of his memories back when he heard Vespera's voice, because that was the trigger that his memories needed to come back. So, yeah. Anyways, the Neverseen enter the property, and Vespera reveals a hidden troll hive. Turns out Empress Pernille and Lucia have been experimenting, trying to change the troll newborn into something that has more cunning and reason. Basically, the trolls age in reverse, starting out huge, but with no reason or logic, just bloodthirstiness, and grow smaller and wiser with age. The Neverseen opened the troll hive with Lucia's DNA, which Orem had provided for them. 3 of the troll newborns escape, and when they trample down the door, they squash Umber, killing her, and her skull is so crushed it's impossible for them to tell who she is. After defeating the other newborns, Sophie comes back to find Alvar trapped in one of the incubating pods, looking dead. But later he escaped, after they find out he used body temperature regulation and breathing control skills, which were the skills he excelled at in the Neverseen. Then Sophie receives a transmission from Sylvie, telling her to bring Keith and Tam, as she needs help. Sophie grabs Keith, Tam, and Rowe as backup, and then teleports to the Alicorn baby hive, where they find Lady Gisela standing between Greyfell and Sylvie. Lady Gisela says that since Umber has been killed, she needs a new shade, and she wants Tam as her replacement. She then shoots Sylvie and Greyfell with fatal dose of Saporidine after Rowe flings daggers at her, and says that she'll give them the antidote if Tam joins them. When he hesitates, she threatens the baby alicorns and Lynn as well. The latter finally convinces Tam to sacrifice himself, despite Sophie's desperate assurances that they can protect her, and he walks over to Lady Gisela. Lady Gisela hands the antidote over and knocks him out and leaps away. Sophie panics instantly and wants to go rescue him, but later Lynn says that Tam can take care of himself and that they shouldn't rescue him. Much later, Sophie decides to register for the match, as she's doing it for Fitz after all. But when she goes to see the matchmakers in Atlantis, the matchmaker tried to fill out her profile. But without the information about her genetic parents, they don't quite know what will happen. Their screens show 5 horrifying words. Sophie Elizabeth Foster is unmatchable. The end.
Dun dun dun!
Yeah, it really needed some dramatic music, didn't it?
Dun.
Okay. That was the summary. Next up, we're going to be doing morals. And Mickey, you want to take the worldview?
Okay, so for the 7th time, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Shannon Messenger is not a Christian author, but she holds very good moral standards of right and wrong, as in when someone does something wrong, they generally get punished for it. There was a bit of elemental talk, as in a lot of conversation about the elements and stuff with shadow flux and light and blah blah blah, but there were also some mentions of being lucky, which luck. But otherwise, there are no strong symbols of worldviews.
Okay. So, next up is foul language and that. So there were some mentions of like cursing in different languages. For example, so and so muttered an oppressive string of ogre curses under their breath, and other things like that. There were also a few stupids and shut-ups, but that's it. I mean, stupids and shut-ups.
Yeah, and I mean, when Keith's around and Fitz is around, it's kind of inevitable you're gonna have a few stupids in the conversations.
Yeah.
I am sorry, everyone who actually likes Fitz. I just don't. I hate him.
Well, hate might be a drastic word. I would say strongly dislike from you anyways. But yeah. Anyways, he does have
hate.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, he does have some issues. Although I think all characters have issues. He just has more issues. But yeah.
They're just worse. Flashback has a lot more violence than the past books, but there's not like it's not like over the top. There was some very detailed fight scenes that involved, injuries and weapons and blood and guts and violence and murder. No, not murder. Sorry. So mild caution if you're sensitive to that kind of thing. But Fitz also, almost kills his older brother. And the only reason that he didn't was because Sophie is a good person and he made him stop, and she made him stop. Yeah. Yeah, but that's
Yeah. Anyways, after we just dropped that bombshell, I will now take romance. Okay, oh man, where do I begin? So, in this book, Sophitz becomes official after the whole kind of awkward, cringy-ish confession.
Official.
They kind of, sort of start dating. Not really. It wasn't even like fully official. And Sophie's 15 and Fitz is like 17. I think 15 is a little young to start dating officially. So at least they weren't like hardcore dating or anything. I don't know.
Like the kind of dating when you're in kindergarten and you're like, oh, I want a boyfriend. That's the kind of thing that happens. There's like nothing there at all, and they're just like, I don't know. Let's just pretend. Alright, you can keep going. I'll stop.
Okay. I do think Messenger packed a little too many bitchy ship moments into this book. Just my personal opinion, and like in case hardcore dating sounded wrong, by the way, there wasn't anything inappropriate, and it was still kept clean, which I'm thankful for, as you can have to be careful when reading non-Christian romance. Although this is not like just romance, it's supposed to be, like fantasy, but like, yeah.
Fantasy adventure, little nuts.
Yeah, it kind of took a turn.
I'll stop.
On this book, anyways. But yeah, so there was also the scene in which Sylvanie gave birth, which also thankfully did not contain super specific details. But yeah, that's it.
Goodness.
Yes.
Anyway. Okay, so there are some scenes where people have to, be sedated or take sedatives to less forcefully or keep them asleep for different circumstances, because there was that 300 and something pages where they were in the hospital, like, okay, I'll stop being salty. But that's it for drugs.
Yes. Okay. So now I'm gonna give my rating recommendation. So I'm gonna rate this 4 stars. Flashback definitely wasn't my favorite in the series. I mean, Messenger spent like 300 or like 420 something pages on the healing center scenes, and that was like too much. It was kind of boring the first time I read it, but it gets better as you reread it. Mostly though because I am like this at the book, scouring everything, looking for like clues that will happen in next books. But yeah, So the troll hive thing too, that was a bit on the creepy side. Also, let me just say, Fitz has some serious anger issues. I mean, not wanting to live with Alvar is one thing, but actually being willing to kill him is another thing. I think that's kind of drastic. Sure, he's a murderer and a stupid person who has no idea that the Neverseen are using him. But he had another memories are waste. Give him a break, Fitz. My age level is going to be 11 plus. I think it had definitely more romance, more fighting scenes, and more talk about Shadowfox and the elements, and yeah. I won't butcher my statement, but any parents who are watching this, please use discretion. Your 10-year-old might be really mature and ready for this, but I'll leave it up to you. Anyways, I will now give you my mini rant about Tam. Shannon, why? Why did Judge make one of my favorite characters join the Neverseen? Why? That's another reason why I didn't like this book very much. Tam is awesome. He's too good for the Neverseen. So just like
Yeah, and what made it even worse was there was like a super sweet moment between Tam and Lynn right before he left. That was like,
no,
like thanks for that. Thank you. Just tug at our heartstrings a little bit more, would ya? Thanks.
yeah, to make it hurt more when she sends him off to join the Neverseen. So yeah. Anyways, yeah. Although like Keith and Tam are very much alike, I still can't get why they hate each other so much, like literally. And now they have both gone to the Neverseen. My only consolation is that Tam did it to protect Sylvanie, Greyfell, the Alicorn babies, and Lynn. Like, you know, their sister-brother bond is super sweet. It's
Yeah, it is.
awesome. So at least he didn't turn into a complete traitor like Alvar. Thank goodness for that. It's still an unspeakable thing. But okay, I will stop my ranting now. I could go on and on, but Mickey, you need to talk now. So yeah.
So, so I'm gonna rate this book just because, like, there's so much just sitting around doing nothing, and it's like not even in the middle of the book or anything. It's like at the beginning, within the like first quarter of the book. Then again, it is like 1,000 pages long. So it's in like the first quarter of the book, going into the third, that they're in the hospital. Like, it was a little bit much. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, it was just a lot of info dumping and just like learning about a bunch of things and not a lot of action. And it's kind of boring to read about. But for that reason, I'm gonna rate it a 3.5 stars because it is like, it's my least favorite book in the series. I think that Shannon Messenger probably could have done something a bit more with, like, have something happen while they're there. Anyway, writer perspective again. And then for the age rating, I'm also going to say 11. Again, if you have, like, super mature 10-year-old, like I was, but if you have a super mature 10-year-old, they could probably handle it. But like we've said before, there is some super, super complex stuff in all the books. And there's a lot more romance in this book. I do not ship it. I'm sorry, I don't ship it. But, so I would say 11 plus, because there's more romance. And while it is fun to read about, it may be a little mature for some age groups. Tam, why? Oh! He's my favorite character. And he left. He left. I've never been more angry at him in my entire life. He's like, why? There were so many other things that you could have done. Well, I'll stop yelling now.
Oh yeah, also for the record, they got into the hospital at page 108 and didn't get out until page 430. This is how much time.
Oh my gosh!
It is a long time. Right? Yes. Some books are only like this long, you know. Some entire books are only this long.
That's true. The first book is like, oh, that long. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I was just looking at it for the record. But yeah. So, anything else you want to say, Mickey? That's your ranting review.
Oh, there are plenty of things that I want to say, but I don't think I should. Because, one, they involve Legacy, which you will be reviewing soon.
Yeah. Is the super spoiler video. People are watching this, they're asking for spoilers, so.
That's true. So, most of my real rants happen, with the character at the end of Legacy. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Let's just say there's a character that I hate even more than Fitz, which I did not think was possible. It happened. So
I will have to wrap up our review here. So yeah, thank you so much, Ricky, for your time on this, and yeah, that wraps up our review. So links to this book in the description below, and please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye. It sounds like some food would be good too, Grady added with a wink at Sophie.
It's always a good day for food. Am I right or am I right? I'm right.
Adeline nodded and snapped her fingers, making a round crystal table appear in the center of the room, and the next snap brought Sophie a chair.
It's the conjurer ability again. Remember when you just snap your fingers and something appears in front of you? Like if I had the conjure ability, if I was an elf, that's the one that I would want. Snap, food. Snap, food. Snap, food. Snap, food. And before my owners know it, the pantry would be empty and they would have no idea what hit them. And then I just look at them with my innocent eyes and my bulging belly, and they still would have no idea what happened.
Sophie sank onto it gratefully as Adeline continued snapping, bringing in chairs for everyone, including Sophie's bodyguards, along with tray after tray of Elvin delicacies, custard bursts and ripple fluffs and pudding puffs and mallow melt, even butter blasts.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Elvin Dessert Roundup. I'm just getting hyped up thinking about it. Woohoo, woohoo, let's do this, yeah. Ah, wah, wah. Dessert number 1, custard burst. Those are the ones that have the rock hard candy shell, but when you bite into them, inside there's this warm, gooey stuff that tastes like basically custard. So basically, when you bite into it, it bursts in your mouth, therefore, custard bursts. Easy. Let's move on. Dessert number 2, ripple fluffs. These are a cross between brownies and cupcakes, and they have a fudgy, buttery baby with a candy surprise sunken into the center. So even better. Let's go to the next one. Dessert number 3, pudding puffs. These are basically, they taste like warm apple pie, but mixed with vanilla ice cream inside. Sounds good. Dessert number 4, mallow melt. Does this one really need an explanation? Mallow melt is the fudgy, chocolatey, butterscotchy, gooey goodness, all stuffed inside a fluffy cake, and I can't even find words to describe it. It's amazing. You gotta try it for yourself. And last but not least, dessert number 5, butter blast. Basically, they're a cross between donuts and pancakes, and they have this mapley cream inside. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining the amazing Shona for her even more amazing Elvin Dessert Roundup. I hope you enjoyed my story time and my video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!